This is Amber Corbin, and this is my final oral exam. The first thing I'd like to address is the course objectives. The first course objective that I would like to talk about is examine gifted programs and procedures through multicultural frameworks. So I included here a overview of what is on our county's gifted website, and this is the criteria for qualification that students must meet and also the tests and instruments used. So looking at this, the first thing that stood out to me was there was nothing on here for students of multicultural frameworks. There was nothing for those students, and the criteria was most certainly a one-size-fits-all criteria. And throughout this program and throughout this course, I have learned very quickly that giftedness is not a one-size-fits-all, and neither should qualification or identification procedures. And one thing that frustrates me, I guess, about our gifted program at my school is the lack of representation of the multicultural students, the diverse population. There's a very heavy population of middle-class white individuals. There are hardly any Hispanic students, and we have a very high population of Hispanic students and students of poverty at my school. So Ford states that depending on the year and the particular racial or cultural group, there are declines in the representation in gifted programs. And I agree with this 1,000%. I think that it's declining very, very quickly based on the number of students from different racial groups and cultural groups and diverse populations. Also, when talking about the programs and the efforts being made toward the progression of the RCD representation, Ford bluntly states in his writing that the pipeline is broken, leaky, and in need of repair, or better yet, replacement. So he blankly says that the efforts that are being made toward increasing the representation of the RCD students is no good. And it's our job as educators to try to advocate for those students and try to get them into the programs and to be able to have more of a representation in those programs. And for my Hispanic students, many of them are ELL students, so that means English language learners, and therefore Spanish is their predominant language and English is secondary for them, and they speak Spanish the majority of the time at home. A lot of their parents do not know English, and they're not given opportunities in our program to take the assessments or any sort of the test for qualification or identification in their native language. And that's one area that is really upsetting to me because they deserve the same opportunity. Our white students or our students who speak English as their native language, they take that assessment in their native language. And I think Hispanic students deserve the same opportunity when it comes to that. So overall, that was my biggest frustration throughout the entire time thinking about my program at our school and the number of my students that are underrepresented in the program. I think there's so much more that we could do as educators to advocate for them, and I have already started the process of trying to advocate for the Torrance Creative Positives in our program and to allow students to be able to have that opportunity for teachers and educators as a whole to use that tool to encourage the hopefully qualification and identification and referral process for those students. Continuing on with that same topic, I did my facilitation of discussion on students of poverty, but they also addressed that evaluating the impact may require the use of more authentic and informal measures, as standardized tests do not adequately assess progress of culturally diverse and English learners. And that was one quote that really stuck out to me throughout the entire article, because standardized tests are not cutting it for all of our students. Some of our gifted students are excelling on standardized tests and being put into the gifted programs with no problem. But for our culturally diverse and our English learners, that's not cutting it for them, and they're missing the mark because of the tools not being suited for them. And I think we as educators need to advocate for more authentic and informal measures. The second course objective is to evaluate my personal beliefs and professional experience related to multicultural gifted education issues. So growing up, I was a white middle-class student. I was a gifted student, and thinking back, as a child, I never realized it at all, but now looking back on it, all of the other students were like me. We were all white middle-class students in the gifted program. There was no diversity in the program whatsoever. It was simply the white middle-class gifted student. I would have to say I guess I lived my entire life in a bubble, and prior to this program I didn't have really any professional experience related to multicultural gifted education issues. I lived in that bubble and I didn't think about it, and now I realize that the underrepresentation is crucial, and I would like to do more investigating, I guess you would call it, with my own school program to see just how, like based on the numbers, how crucial the underrepresentation is. My eyes have certainly been open to all the issues that are present in schools today, and now I have a better idea of what I need to look for and take note of and try to be an advocate for all the issues that are going on. Shifting the focus of equity in gifted programs to income will not reduce our obligation to understand and address the learning needs of racially, culturally, and linguistically diverse children. And I think this is one issue that a lot of people want to do when it comes to students of poverty and the issues that they have being involved in the gifted program. They want to shift the focus from equity to income. It should never be based on their income. I know one of the discussions that we did, the Wells and Cerna discussion, detailed about the local elites, and I don't necessarily think that those local elite parents are intending to do anything negative or anything like that. I think it's an outward view that causes that to look negative in a way. However, a lot of focus, I know in my school personally, is on those local elites. And the students in the local elite population receive the best education. They get the best teachers. They have the best materials. Whereas our students of poverty come to school without all of those things and without the advocate at home that those local elites have. However, educators need to shift the focus back to equity and create that as a whole in schools, more equity. My future plans include classroom campfire meetings. Currently, I do what I call family meetings, which are the same thing. So I have the picture of the campfire just to kind of grab attention. But these campfire meetings I would like for them to happen at least once or twice a week to allow courageous conversations to happen, to allow students to ask questions to myself or to one another, just to allow courageous conversations. I think that is one thing that I took from this course that is crucial for me as a teacher. I want to encourage my students to have courageous conversations and to be open-minded with each other and also with myself. Another thing is a classroom teacher mail. I want to give my students an opportunity for sharing concerns. I think one thing for our multicultural education programs to encourage that, I want my students to be able to express concerns, whether it's them writing me a letter to say, hey, Miss Corbin, I don't have any food at home, or hey, Miss Corbin, you're an awesome teacher. Regardless of what it may be, this mailbox will allow them to share things with me that they might not want to share during our campfire meetings about the issues that are going on at home or in their personal life or just at school. Whatever's going on, I can hopefully try to address those issues with them. And I think that is one of my biggest concerns, is I want my students to have the opportunity to have someone to talk to and to be an advocate for them. And if I provide them a way to share things with me, I can be an advocate for them. And finally, my network and collaboration. My plan is to first discuss with my grade level team about the implementation of a multicultural curriculum. Currently, my school does a multicultural night at school where the students are able to share about their culture or just a different culture that they researched, and some of them bring in food from that culture, etc. But I don't think one night a year is enough for the multicultural education curriculum for our students. I know in our readings, I have read several times that multicultural education is for every student, not just the diverse students. It's for everyone. After discussing with my team, and once we come up with a plan, I want to take that plan to administration and discuss that with them, and obviously make sure that it's okay to implement into our classrooms in a timely manner that we have. And then finally, I want to present as a professional development opportunity for other teachers to get involved. I don't want to make this a mandatory thing for our faculty and staff. I want it to be an opportunity for them to get involved and be passionate about it. I don't want them to come in and sit in a faculty meeting because more than likely they're going to doodle on a piece of paper or play on their phone or something like that. So I really want it to be something that they choose to do. And hopefully I can round up some more advocates for our multicultural and diverse students. Thank you.